So complex trauma really at its core, whether you're looking at those two different definitions for children and adolescents or for adults, is really about disruptions in developmental goals, whether they're social or emotional. And that can happen to you if you have a long-term traumatic history as an adult. It will, if you have been, for example, imprisoned against your will and tortured for a number of weeks, which is a very, very long time to have that, it will have an impact on those fundamental, it can have, not for everyone, but it can have an impact on those developmental milestones that you've met. Because someone has probably been systematically dismantling how you relate to the other person. They will be systematically dismantling your sense of boundaries, your sense of self. So those developmental milestones will be dismantled as well. But we're also talking about childhood trauma where you may get an interruption in learning how to do simple things like identify whether you're scared or you're angry. I was talking to my 8-year-old stepson last night, and it took us about 20 minutes to figure out if he was scared or angry. Those very simple things, so that it's that you might need your own space to calm down and relax, and it's going to be safe and fine. Or that you can be really angry, but that doesn't mean you're an awful person. All those kind of learnings. Again, when you look at complex trauma, the field is very divided about where people come from. You have people that talk about attachment theory, and for those of you who work with attachment, I'm going to apologize in advance, I'm going to caricature it hugely. But in a sense, attachment is about having someone reflecting back who you are when you're dealing with those emotions. So if we're talking about trauma, we're talking about if you're really, really distressed, that someone reflects back to you still an unconditional regard for you. So they show you that you're still a good person, that you're still okay, that you're going to be safe, that you're still loved, all those sorts of things. That's the core of secure attachment, if you like. So that if you had a child, for example, that has I'm going to try your example of domestic violence, that has witnessed domestic violence. You can think about that child being traumatized because if there's at some point this is disrupted, that reflection of, no matter what you do, no matter who you are, you're precious, you're safe, you're loved, you're okay. You can deal with this at some point. So that's one school of thought. Again, I'm apologizing, it's very caricatural. The other school of thought is around skill development. So it's about someone, an adult, a carer, teaching you that, something terrible happened and this is what you do about it. This is how, or you feel terrible, you feel like the world is going to end, but you don't need to be traumatized if you're a child to feel like that. Someone to teach you how to put things in perspective, the difference between you and the other person, all those sorts of skills. If you look at treatment programs for people with complex trauma or people with borderline personality disorder, they often can look quite different. Some look at attachment and focus a lot on relationship building and the relationship between the therapist and the client. And then you have some that are very skill-based and are like and that are about teaching those skills again, how to regulate emotion, how to set boundaries between you and another person, how to become more assertive, all those sorts of things. Particularly in the borderline personality field, that's a big focus, for example, skill development. And but often you need to think about both when you're thinking about treating complex trauma. And if you look at the disorders like desnos, they really bring the two together.